Hi, everyone. I'm Carly.
And I'm Sophia.
And this is Away She Goes, a podcast from Girls Who Travel.
Each episode will help you feed your wanderlust with travel tips, stories, inspiration, and more. Away she goes.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Away She Goes. Today, Sophia and I are joined by a very special guest, Alexa West, who is an author, started her own travel company, all of the fun things. I will let her introduce herself formally, but Alexa, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
So yeah, if you wouldn't mind just first off telling our listeners a little bit about you, what you do, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. So I'm Alexa. I have been traveling the world. I left when I was 22, right after college. 22, right after college. And I traveled for 11 years, full time. And back in 2017, I found a need for some female representation in the travel guidebook company or guidebook industry. So I started a company called the Solo Girls Travel Guide. It's the best-selling travel guidebook series for women. We cover mostly in Asia. It's me and my best friend that run it together. She was a reader first, and then we met through my books. And I have been writing those books, and now I just came out with a new book called The One-Way Ticket Plan, How to Find and Fund Your Purpose While Traveling the World. So that's what I do. I have taken all of my travel wisdom and I write books and pass that wisdom on to girls that want to live a life like me.
That's goals.
I love that.
Travel goals, life goals.
Yeah. So tell us, what happened to you in college that you decided to go travel afterwards?
Yeah. So there's a program in my state, Washington State, that when you're in high school, if you can test into college classes, you can go to college classes. So when I was 16, I started going to the community college, which was really funny. You know, it's like, if you've ever seen that show Community, It was very much like that.
Ooh.
Yeah. Like I'm the young, 16-year-old, but like I'm in the classes with, some college age people, some like older age people. And it's really fun. I feel like I got a lot of wisdom there. But that meant that when I went into university at the University of Seattle, I went in at 18, but I went in as a junior, which meant that I had to pick my major right away. And I was graduating at 20. Who knows what exactly you want to do at 18? I just feel like that is always such a hard thing. It's like, hey, go to college, spend all this money, and tell us what you're going to do for the rest of your life. And you're like, this one. So I had a random major, but my mom was one of those moms that taught me, like, find a good man and like cling on to him and stick with him. So because I was like, I don't really know what I want to do in life, I did know that I liked my boyfriend a lot. And I was like, I'm just going to have the fairy tale, graduate with this expensive degree and use it only to get married, like be with this guy forever. So I was kind of in that like, I don't know what to do next, but I like this guy. So I kind of planned my life around him. And then he dumped me and I was devastated. I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I know that I've always wanted to travel. I'd always wanted to help people, but I didn't know how to get there. And come, the day after the breakup, after I cried just for a day, it was a real quick move on.
Okay.
I had remembered, it was because I was like, screw this.
Good for you.
Yeah. It was one of those like, screw this, like I'm going to do something crazy. And I had remembered an office that I walked by in college for a program called the Peace Corps, which is an American organization that sends very qualified volunteers across the world somewhere you didn't get to choose for 27 months. So I had one of those like, screw this, I'm leaving the country moments. And that's what I did.
That.
That's what I did.
Sounds like me when I go through a hard time.
Yeah. It's like we're either getting bangs, we're like chopping all our hair off, we're getting like a nose ring, or we're like booking a trip.
Yep. I'm in that category also. So one of the main focus for this episode is going to be about traveling for free, how people can do that. So you obviously mentioned the Peace Corps. I know we'll get into that a little bit more. So who can travel for free, and are there any requirements to need to travel for free? Because I think I speak for myself. I think any of us would travel for free if we knew how.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, please. I am the expert of travel free. I have, because when I left the US, I was a college student. And I, after college, like waiting for the Peace Corps, I got a job as like a hostess. But then I have spent all the money I've made in that year. Like, I'm leaving America, and spent all that money partying, or I spent it on like travel gear. So when I had left the States, I had $200 to my name. But it worked out great because the Peace Corps is an organization that pays for everything, your flights, your housing, your cost of living, your insurance. So I didn't really need to worry about it because I had this program set up for me. And I was one of the youngest in my group of Peace Corps volunteers. There's a group that goes together, but there were people of all ages. A lot of people were in their 30s. A lot of people had like finished their master's degrees and decided to go to the Peace Corps, or they were doing the Peace Corps before a master's degree. There was a woman in our group who was in her 60s. She was from, I want to say, Galveston, Texas. And I believe that I'm remembering this right, that she was married. And she was like, listen, honey, I've been with you for so long. I'm just going to like go away for 2.5 years and travel. If that's how I remember it, I need to like triple check. It's anyone. So that's the Peace Corps. But the Peace Corps requires you to have a bachelor's degree and be American. Okay. So that's a very specific route. But there are so many other volunteer programs that will facilitate your travels. Some, if you are very specialized in something, you can find volunteer programs that will be something like this that will, fund your travels. But then if we're talking about just kind of like a lower commitment, a really easy way that anyone can travel for free in having their cost of living paid for is house sitting. I love house sitting. Have either of you done that?
No,
I have
not.
We have a volunteer in Girls Who Travel who does like pet sitting and house sitting, and we've spoken to her before, but we've never done it.
I know people that it's like their full-time lifestyle. And I use this app called Trusted House Sitters. It's an app and a website, and you sign up. It's a yearly fee. I think it's like $120. Then you have access to houses all around the world. You can go anywhere: Australia, UK, Thailand, all around the US as well, which traveling in your own country, I think, is still traveling. So yeah, house sitting is a huge one. I did that for quite a while, and it was kind of how I was able to stop focusing on working and focus on, building my dream, because I didn't have to get up in the morning to pay rent. I got up to feed someone's dog and go for a walk and, focus on what I do. So there's a lot of avenues that I think a lot of people don't know about that will fund your travels, or at least really, really lower that cost of living. Because travel versus vacation is a totally different thing. We're talking about travel, and we don't have unlimited money, and you've got to get savvy. Yeah.
So something else that, that we can talk about is working abroad outside of Peace Corps, which obviously is volunteering, pet sitting. We have talked on the podcast before with Arden, who I know about teaching English. Specifically, Arden taught English in Japan. So we talked about that a lot. We did a whole episode on that with her. Obviously teaching English is, I think, kind of the go-to that a lot of people think of when they think about working abroad. But the problem with that is that, it's very native to certain countries like Japan or South Korea. It's a very kind of niche career to get into. So what are some ways other than house sitting, pet sitting, that people can make money actively while traveling?
Sure. In the one-way ticket plan in my new book, chapter 2 is called Travel Paths, and it's all the ways that either I've made money or travel for free, or that my friends have made money and travel. And there's one travel path that I call skill seeking. And whenever you travel, or whenever I travel abroad, I meet people who are learning a skill that they're going to then turn into a career. So yoga teacher training is a big one. I lived in Bali for 2.5 years. so many people come over to get their yoga teacher training. So it's like a 200-hour course. Then they're this sort of certified yoga teacher, and you can take that somewhere and get a job with it. But I love when yoga teachers take that yoga teacher training and get a job at a resort, or get a job at a hotel, or get a job, I don't know, at a retreat center or something like that. So it kind of keeps that travel going, and you're still pouring yourself into your passion. Another one is dive master. A lot of people will come to Thailand and get their dive master certification so they can go and be a dive master somewhere. Other ones that I talk about are makeup artist, hairstylist, hospitality. I have a girlfriend that worked in hotels in Ireland forever. She's Irish. And she was like, I'm ready to like just do something different. So she got on these big, you can go to like Marriott or Four Seasons and see their job openings. And she had all of these interviews all around the world. Bali was one big contender, but she ended up moving to the Caribbean. And she is managing a hotel in the Caribbean. She was like, screw this, like, I'm going to go do that. But here is always my precaution when we're talking about skill seeking. Just because you go and get your yoga teacher training or your dive master certificate, it doesn't mean that you're going to find a job right away. The more people that go and get these trainings, the higher demand it is. So what I tell people is, instead of thinking that you're going to go to Bali, get your 200-hour yoga teacher training, and then just have all these doors open, kind of play with a 3-year plan. Say, I'm going to go get this training. Have some ideas of where you're going to then point that certificate. Am I going to try and, almost like brand myself or specialize in retreats? Am I going to try and brand myself or specialize in hotels? So have a plan ahead of how you're going to use it. Just like, if you go and get your PhD, maybe you have an idea of what. I was going to say, if you go to college, you should have an idea. It's like, we have no idea when we're in undergrad. That is, ignore that. But have an idea of where you're going to take it. Don't just spend the money, spend the time. Do it if you love it. Some people I know go get their trainings because they love it, and then it ends up in a job. But just be realistic about it, that you're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to knock on doors. Some of these avenues might come really easily, and some of them might take a little bit more hunting.
I like that. I think that's really cool, especially the resort aspect, because they're usually somewhere where it's very nice to be at. So yeah, that's an added bonus.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, exactly. Like you get to keep, instead of, always being the tourist, it's like you get to work in the industry, and that comes with, pluses and negatives, just like any job, but it's pretty great.
I feel like the pluses of working at a resort are a lot bigger than like the pluses of my day job, like.
Yeah.
My day job
when I was
at a resort. So
right. When I was in Bali, one of my girlfriends, she got on Tinder and matched with the manager of the W Hotel. And very quickly she moved into the W Hotel. And during COVID, me and my other best friend, we also moved in and lived with them in the W Hotel. Amazing. So it was the three of us living in the W Hotel because she's dating the manager. And, the other people that we would kind of like see in the hotel is like the marketing manager her boyfriend was German. The marketing manager was probably Australian, I think. The food and beverage guy was also German. So when you have Western clientele, sometimes they'll bring in Western staff to kind of, cater to that Western clientele. So that's another cool one. And there are just so many ways that you can get creative with your skills, seeking your skills, growing your skills. Yeah. And traveling with your skills.
So you touched on that you went to college, you did university, you did your undergraduate. So you obviously have a university degree. So what, do you feel like a university degree is required? I know for the Peace Corps it is, for a lot of these things, do you recommend that people get a degree first, or are there some avenues where, if somebody doesn't want to spend the money or take the time to go through university, that they could follow?
No one's ever asked me this question, Carly,
Oh,
and I have very kind of mixed feelings on this. So for me, I taught English in South Korea for 2 years. I taught English in Taiwan for a year. The Peace Corps was almost 2 years. I left a little bit early on the Peace Corps, but for all of those opportunities, I had to have a college degree. So I'm very grateful that I had that college degree. But now, if a 17-year-old in high school came to me and said, do I have to go to college? I would say, I mean, I'm torn because I want to tell girls, go travel first. You know, pick up my book, find a few free ways to travel. At least go travel first. And maybe you're going to find a different avenue that doesn't require a degree, or maybe you're going to discover something in Costa Rica about environmentalism, and you're going to say, oh, I didn't know that I was so passionate about this. So now, at least if you're going to go get your degree, you're going to get it in something that matters. And you're also going to be earning that degree with a vision of what you want to do after with that degree, rather than being like, I don't know why I'm getting this. This is stupid. You'll think back like, okay, you know, when I turned 18, before I even applied to colleges, I love the idea of a gap year. You know, like Sophia, gap year, is that very common?
Yes, very, very common. I did it myself. I'm a huge advocate for gap years. I actually took one before I went to university, then before doing my master's, and then before starting a job. So
Sophia's done 3 gap years.
yeah.
Wait, and so Sophia, can you tell me, if you didn't do the gap year, I mean, did it help you decide what paths you wanted to take?
Definitely. Before the gap year, I was very torn. I was very unsure. I had 2 passions at the time. I wasn't sure whether I should go to study film at university or computer science. And I did a year of working as an au pair. I met an artist and I shot some music videos for her. And while I did find that very good, I was thinking that that's not quite the career for me. So it really did help push me more towards computer science.
Exactly. So at least if you're going to go get your degree, travel first. Gap year is, you know, you graduate high school and you travel first, and then you go to university. So at least do that. I cannot deny that like the degree really, really helped me, but I don't know. Carly, what do you think?
Yeah, so I'm also
on...
torn. I did not get bit by the travel bug, so to speak, until I was like 20. So I was already halfway through an undergraduate degree. Yeah. I graduated high school at 18, went right into college. I did not take a gap year. And I have always expressed, I don't know if regret is the word, that's kind of a strong word, but I have always maintained that like, had I wanted to travel, had I had the travel bug at 17, 18, 19, the way I do now, that I would have gone to Fort Lauderdale and got into yachting. I would have taken a gap year. We talked to Julia Dalbert last week from Below Deck, and I love you. If I had known that yachting existed when I was 18, that is what I would have done 100%. At the same time, I don't regret that I have a degree. I'm actually 1 class away now. I'm in my final class for a master's degree, but you know, but they're in these career fields that I just have kind of found myself in. Is it something that when I was 18, I said, oh, I want to do this? No. So I also can kind of see both ways. Obviously, I think that it's useful for some people to have a college degree, or I know if I ever want to teach English abroad, I have a college degree. If I want to do the Peace Corps, I have the degree. But there's also things I would have definitely done differently 10 years ago, knowing now what I know. So I also I'm like you, I kind of could go both ways on it.
Yeah. For me, I also never met someone who was like, well, I regret taking a gap year, because like it's in the name. If you want to get a degree, it can be just a year. It doesn't have to be 11 years. Although that sounds amazing.
Well, and I think at least for me, the way I grew up, no shade to my parents, but I always grew up with this very rigid, you get out of high school and you go to college, and then you get out of college and you have your job and you move out and you work full time. I always just kind of grew up with this very rigid idea of a timeline.
Oh yeah, so, same.
You know, but so it almost never occurred to me. Yeah, it almost never occurred to me to take a gap year, or, oh, you don't have to go to college. You could move down to Florida and go work on yachts in Europe if you want. Like, it never would have even occurred to me.
Yeah, same. Until my
Growing up.
cousin became like she's 6 years older than me, and she did work as an au pair for a year after graduation, and I was like, that sounds cool. Like I want to be places. Yeah, let's do that.
I want to do things.
Yeah, and do things. And I think it's cool that I had all these experiences, and I had a lot of them because I was broke, and so I was like really just looking for everything, and I am really excited. Like I have been, a lot of people have been reading my book, The One Way Ticket Plan. Like before it's out, I've had like some, secret readers. Like my professor from college is reading it, and my friends that have kids are reading it, and they were just like, I didn't know that I had all these opportunities. You don't know what you don't know, which is why I really love this podcast, because you introduce girls to so many different avenues that they might just not have been exposed to. Because like you're saying, Carly, like we have this like rigid thing, like we're taught like high school, college. It's like a treadmill, high school, college, job, married, kids. And it's like, let's get off the treadmill of life, of this like conveyor belt of life. And let's try to switch it up, because you Europeans, Sophia, you've got it going on with this gap year thing. It's just so much smarter, so much more fulfilling when you move into a path that you're so excited about, rather than feeling like you're being forced to do something. So I think, when I have a daughter after high school, I might just like mandatory, you are going to go travel before we dedicate you to this avenue that you might not even like. And then student loans, like it,
Oh,
I'm
God,
so
they're
glad
horrible.
that I'm so glad though that like I am happy that I had my degree, and my growing up was so poor that we had a lot of grants. So I luckily don't have these loans, because I was at that financial line that the government helped. But imagine someone that never used their degree and they have student loans. Like how frustrating is that?
I know people in that boat who owe
Ah,
tens of thousands of dollars and they're not even using their degree.
it's such a scam. It's
It
such a
is.
scam.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. College. So yeah, I guess the way I feel personally is that I don't regret that I have my degree, but I regret not taking time in between to think about it, because when like the way I grew up, you don't take time. That's what you're doing and that's it,
Here's another idea. Like people say, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you pick one thing.
Yep.
But there is also the idea of being three things, of being like, I did, this career till this age, and that was fun. And now I'm going to move on into something else. And of course, you have to have, I guess some financial grace in order to do a job change when you're 30 or 40. But sometimes that job change can give you more financial grace. But I like the idea of, it's not too late. It's not too late if you're in your 30s, 40s, and 50s and are like, I didn't love that avenue that I took, and I am going to explore something else. I'm going to go volunteer in the Amazon rainforest for a year because I want to. It's never too late. But if we can help our younger girls get on a path that excites them earlier, that's my goal.
Absolutely. Yeah. I wish that I had had the knowledge, like I said, 10, 15 years ago that I have now, because my life would be completely different. What is your favorite way? I mean, you've talked about a lot of ways that you've traveled for free, the teaching English abroad, the Peace Corps, house sitting. What was your favorite way to travel for free?
I really love teaching English in South Korea. I loved it so much. I did it twice. And Korean culture is so interesting. It's so, compared to us over here, it's so historical and there's so many traditions. And I loved teaching English in South Korea. But the difference between the first year that I taught and the second year was very different. The first year I taught at a really intense school. It was intense for the children and it was intense for the teachers. So sometimes South Korea can get like a bad rap. Like, I've heard people that taught 1 year in South Korea and were like, it's horrible. Vice News even did like a thing about, some person was wearing like a mask to hide their identity and was saying like the schools in Korea, like, they hit the children and
Oh no.
These kids cry, and it was like this big expose. And it's like, okay, sure. That was your one experience. And in my intense school, the really tense one, no one was hitting anyone. But the kids were exhausted and the teachers were exhausted. So picking a school will really dictate your experience. My second year teaching in Korea was beautiful. It was just like a beautiful environment for the teachers, for the children. There wasn't a lot of pressure. The kids still, it's pretty impressive how Koreans start learning English young in these like private schools and in the public schools. Like my 5-year-old kindergartners, had quite an American, or I guess American because it's me, but had quite an English vocabulary. And then also, their parents would come in and just like switch back and forth so easily. I really loved teaching South Korea. I felt like it was the first job that paid me, which is cool. So it was like technically my first job. My housing was covered. I was living in this new culture, but I was safe and protected because I had other teachers. I had the director. I had people, that chose my apartment based off of like the proximity to my school. I had all of this, like, I don't know, this comfort and protection around me to the extent that I felt like I could express myself, be free, learn new things about myself in school and outside of school. It was just a really cool opportunity. And teaching with people, my teachers' rooms would be full of people from, South Africa and Australia and the UK. And that aspect, even just teaching with other travelers was cool. I really recommend teaching in South Korea. There is a way to find a school that isn't going to be horrible. And it's literally just called the green list and the black list. And if you are searching for schools in South Korea to teach at, and you find one that you like, you can go on the internet and see if it's a green listed school, which means that someone loved it and people are leaving great reviews about it, or if it's a blacklisted school. And these blacklisted schools are the ones that are notoriously terrible. So yeah, I mean, there's resources to make sure that your experience is a little bit better than the person on Vice News covering their face talking about crazy stuff.
The internet's such a great place.
Yeah, and that's some really solid advice, I feel like.
Absolutely. So now that we're almost done with our episode, we want to hear about your current project, the one-way ticket plan. By the time we're recording this, I think right before it comes out, but by the time the episode comes out, it will be out completely. So tell us more about it.
I'm in love with this book. I mean, not just because I wrote it, but it is okay, because I wrote it.
That's okay.
So it's the one-way ticket plan, how to find and fund your purpose while traveling the world. So a huge part of travel, everyone's like, oh, but like, I would love to travel, but I can't afford it. And I am proof that you can. I am proof that your dream life can be your real life and you don't have to be rich to do it. So it gives you all of these avenues, but it's everything from how to make friends, how to pick safe locations, how to deal with those hard days and those happy days, because, you get homesick, or maybe it really tackles every fear that I have heard my readers have. So with my travel guidebook company, I have come in contact with so many women around the world, and I've really learned what they're afraid of. And I also learned what they are looking for. So this book boils all of that down. And even to the point of returning home from a trip. So I end this book with reverse culture shock, which is another episode in itself. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the one-way ticket plan. It's one of those books that you pick it up, people can't put it down. I've had someone the other day say they had to hide it from themselves because it's just an easy read. It's a self-help book, but it is narrated with so many stories from my travels. It's funny, it's sexy, it's silly, but most importantly, it is full of actual travel paths, actual ways you can make travel your real life.
I heard a rumor from a very trusted source that there is a quote from a good friend of ours.
Oh yeah.
Somewhere on the cover, on the jacket, somewhere. Our good friend Arden, founder, team mom of Girls Who Travel, I know she's
Yeah.
represented somewhere on there.
Arden
There she is, right
was
on the cover. I'm looking
one
up
of
the image right now.
she's right on the cover. Arden was one
Yes.
of my early readers. You know, she is the mom of this world. And so I was like, okay, I want her seal of approval. And she loved it. And I have her name on my cover. I have her quote on my cover. It feels really cool to have Arden be like part of such a huge, huge book and huge part of my life. So
Yeah,
thank you, Arden.
I'm looking at it right now. Yep, there she is, right on the cover. Good job, Arden. Yeah, Arden.
And good job connecting us.
I know. Good job,
Yeah.
Arden. Well, it sounds like, again, it sounds like something that I wish I had when I was younger. And that, like you said, I hope that we can share with this younger generation now so that they really can make these informed decisions about what they want to do instead of just kind of falling into, I don't want to call it a trap, but falling into just like the steps of life
The
that
trap.
yeah. I mean, all right, I'll call it what it is.
Yeah.
You know, falling into this trap of what we think life needs to look like when going right to university and then getting a job and getting married and having 2.5 kids and a dog and a white picket fence and working your life away. And if that's what you want your life to look like, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But if it's not, there's also nothing wrong with that either. And I think that young girls, especially, because I was one of those people, need to realize if that's not what you want, that's okay. And there's nothing wrong with you because that's not what you want.
Exactly. And see what else is out there before knowing
Committing.
That's what you want. Because
Right.
like if you've only ever been told one thing, then how else are you going to know that that's not what you want?
Agreed.
Totally. And I represent like both sides. Like I wanted both. Like I wanted to travel, and now I'm 35 and I am in a relationship with someone that I really like, that I'm so glad I waited to choose. So, you know, I had this 10 years of travel and then I had this later. It's, you know, just take it slow down.
And
You can have it all slow down.
And I think that too emphasizes that there is not a one size fits all timeline. I have friends who got married at very young ages and had kids at very young ages. My parents had me when they were in their early 30s. One of my friends just had a baby at 28. Like, you do not have to fit into, if somebody gets married at 22 and you get married at 40, that's okay too. You know, you can do all of the things, and there is not like an order or a timeline that you have to follow if you want to do those things eventually.
Yeah. I think we all can agree it's find your timeline. Don't let anyone else tell you what the timeline has to be. Find your own time. Gap year. Yep.
It sounds like a really good book. It's I definitely love an easy read. So even though like I'm a seasoned traveler, there's probably lots I can still learn in there. So I'll definitely pick it up. So
there's a lot we can learn from each other, which is again why this podcast is so balanced.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So the last question we have for you is where can our listeners find you on the internet, on social media?
I just launched my new website, alexawest.com. I'm so proud of it. I would dare to say it's one of the best travel websites ever. I spent 9 months on it.
It's so pretty.
I'm going to look right now.
Thank you. It's so pretty, but at the same time, it is like I spent 9 months with this incredible duo of girls called With Grace and Gold, and they designed with me. And it was really meant to be such a resource, because sometimes you'll have a girl that's traveling with my Thailand book, and then she hops over into Cambodia, and she's not at a place where she can get on Amazon and get my Cambodia book. So I'm like, okay, I still want you to have as many resources as you can. So every place that I cover, I give kind of like crash courses of my destinations, but it's also like kind of a crash course of the one-way ticket plan. I have all of my travel paths on there as well. So all of the things that we talked about on this podcast, you can dive deeper, but my social media is on there. My email's on there. I love getting emails. I love hearing stories. So yeah, alexawest.com, meet me there.
And I will link that in the episode description to make it easy for everybody. And I'm on the website right now. I have another monitor over here. Our listeners can't see me, but Sophia and Alexa both can. So if I'm looking off into the distance, I'm looking at my other monitor. It's a beautiful website and everything. Yeah, there's like everything you need on here. We could order your new book and all that fun stuff too. That's all for this episode. If you'd like more Away She Goes in your life, make sure to stop by girlswhotravel.org/podcast. That's where you can fill out a form if you're interested in being a guest on the show. You can also write to us at awayshegosgwt@gmail.com or leave us a message on our Google voicemail from any phone or computer at 1-563-503-6323. To follow our adventures, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm at Carly Sees the World. Carly is spelled Carli.
You can also follow me at Sophia AEZ, Sophia with a PH. Away She Goes is part of Girls Who Travel, a community dedicated to radically redefining travel to be inclusive, sustainable, and empowering. You can learn more about GWT, find travel tips and support, shop travel-themed items made by GWT members, and join our Facebook group with nearly 100,000 women all around the world at girlswhotravel.org. We can't wait to connect and explore with you. Away she goes.